What up, IDS Mob? Welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm HarryWilmington, and today we're going to be answering a question from a guy that wants to know what potential future problems could he encounter as an introvert that wants to potentially marry an extrovert. I love answering questions from introverts in particular, A, because that's what the show's about, but also because, I have a lot of this lived experience in terms of I've been a guy that has dated extroverted women. And so if you're an introverted guy that hasn't had a lot of dating experience, you may think that there's going to be certain problems that could arise. And there are problems that could arise depending upon the type of woman that you're dating. So we're going to go ahead and get into this guy's question because it's quite a long one, and I want to make sure I'm able to stop at points here and there to be able to answer some of his concerns. So he says, I'm an introvert that used to act like an extrovert, trying my best to make it through high school, but was miserable. I also happened to meet my significant other in high school. I'm now a 22-year-old. He says, I now get to work from home. My desk is in my bedroom. I spend 95% of my time locked in my room working, reading, studying, or gaming. My girlfriend comes over almost daily and cleans up my room. He says, I've never asked her to, nor do I expect she just does. And then he says, my mom will occasionally bring me food, and that's how I get sustenance, LOL. So he's still living at home. He says, my significant other is extroverted, loves friends, going out, conversing, family functions, etc. I've never missed a function. We go out every anniversary, and we do have the occasional date night, so I do try to get out of my comfort zone for her. Well, I want to say that that's actually a good thing. I don't believe that an introvert should try to muscle the relationship to where he's only getting alone time and he only does what he wants to do, and that she has to also do the things that he wants her to do. I think it should be an even keel thing where it's give and take back and forth. So the fact that you're an introvert that's still willing to, go to these functions with her from time to time and, get out of your shell from that kind of stuff is actually a very good thing. Okay. Continuing, he says, here is where I need advice. What future problems could I encounter? We've been together for 4 years or so now, and I'm planning on proposing on our anniversary next year. So he'll be 23. He says, I've spoken to her extensively about the fact that I'm introverted, that I'm never going to be the go out every weekend boyfriend, spontaneous travel, morning hike type of guy. Every time she's reassured me that it doesn't matter to her, I'm what she wants. And she is what I want, but I recognize that, at least from my perspective, it's easier to be the introvert dating the extrovert than the other way around. Okay, so I want to kind of address some of the stuff you mentioned here. So first off, you've been with her for 4 years, okay? I have found that in terms of you being an introvert, if there were going to be any major problems about you being an introvert that were going to chase her away, they would have shown up in the first 6 months, whereby you would have done some kind of introverted action, like wanting your alone time or not wanting to go to a particular event of some kind, and there would have been an argument, a fight, some kind of hissy fit thrown either by her or by you, and that would have caused enough turmoil to where she'd have been like, you know what, you're not spending enough time with me, I can't really take this, and so I'm out. That would have happened in the first 6 months. It's been 4 years. And so what that means is by this point in time in the relationship, because usually the first 6 months is like the honeymoon phase, then you have the phase where you guys might have a few arguments here and there as you're trying to adjust to what it really takes to function with that other person in a relationship. You guys are 4 years in, so you've gone past that part to where you're just now a regular, consistent presence in her life. And she clearly likes the presence that she's getting because she's 4 years in and has not tried to break up with you and is still coming over to clean your room up, okay? So what this means is that there's already evidence here that shows that she's perfectly fine with you the way you are. What's happening here is that you are now in your head and you're feeling you're projecting to her your insecurities about you being an introvert, because you've probably been told your whole life, well, introvert people are kind of awkward or goofy, or, nobody's going to want to stay with them long term because people want to be able to go out. And so if you're not being extroverted, then that's going to be a thing that's going to eventually bug her. Okay. Let's look at the evidence once again. 4 years in, still coming over. She's telling you that she has no problem with the way you are. So what this means is that there's a blockade in your head, and there's some self-talk there that is very negative that you're telling yourself about why it is that this girl is probably going to want to leave you eventually or not want to be with you due to your introverted ways. But I see none of that. You say to her that he's not going to be the spontaneous type that want to do spontaneous travel. Well, you've had 4 years. She's probably already experienced that. She's still there. You're not a morning hike type of guy. You probably haven't hiked with her for 4 years. She's been cool with it. You're not the go out every weekend boyfriend. She clearly knows that by now because at times when she goes out, you're probably not there, and it's totally fine. So far, I don't see any problems happening other than the ones you're trying to project out. And I get it that there can be a fear there of, well, things are going so well now, but I'm still waiting for that other shoe to drop. Sometimes there is no shoe. Or sometimes if you obsess over it, then if something does occur, say she made a little comment like, hey, so I really wanted you to be there with my friends this weekend and I wish you hadn't, then that's going to be seen as like, this is it. This is the shoe dropping. Oh my God. And so, dude, you got to have some better self-talk, get out of your head and look at the evidence in front of you. Everything she's done thus far is saying, I want to be with you for who you are. Okay, so let's go with that. Continuing, he says, I don't have trips I want her to be a part of, but I'm sure if she were to go somewhere, she'd want me there. Or if she made plans with a friend and wants me to attend, I wouldn't have plans like that in the first place, etc. My fear is that she is okay with it now, but maybe as time passes, as we get older, she'll grow to resent me. Am I being unreasonable, paranoid maybe? Has this been your experience? So I can tell you, I'll be honest. I've had the experience of dating extroverted women, and there have been a few of them that when I expressed needing my alone time, maybe wanting to take a vacation by myself or just stay in a hotel to just be to myself and relax a bit and get my thoughts together, that there was pushback, there was crying, there was feelings from her of, well, does this mean that you don't really like me? Why wouldn't you want me around? And so you got to recognize too that just like men have their emotional issues and their self-esteem issues, that there are some women out there that also have those issues. Women that have abandonment issues will oftentimes try to cling on to their relationship so tightly that they don't want you to ever have alone time because it signifies to them that they're being abandoned. And I'd say try not to date those women. But if you happen to date one that has those kind of issues, then hopefully she's getting help for it because that is still not your problem. As an introvert, you're going to have times where you got to spend time with her, even when you might not want to, because it's a give and take relationship. So just like there's going to be times you want your alone time and you're going to want to get it, there's going to be times where she's going to want you around and it's going to be like, well, you might want your alone time, but for this time, I'll spend some time with you. But that shouldn't be every single time. So if you request alone time, say 10 times, I'd say it'd be reasonable 4 or 5 of those times to be able to get your alone time. If she's harking on the fact that you ask for alone time 10 times and every single time she gets mad, that's a woman you don't want to be with. Now, on the other hand, I've also dated women who had absolutely no problem with me having my alone time. They had no problem with me taking trips by myself. They had no problem if I said, hey, babe, I'm kind of feeling physically drained, emotionally drained, energy-wise drained today, so I can't see you today, but hey, I'll come see you tomorrow. And the reaction's been, okay, that's totally great. But also, that woman had a life of her own outside of just me, okay? So recognize that that's a thing. But also, with that said, you can't do the opposite to her. Like just like you want your alone time and you don't want her to fight you on it, you can't then be mad at her as an extrovert for wanting to go out at times when you can't be there. Because then that's not fair to her, the person who's a social creature and wants to get out a lot of times, to hold her back from that, okay? So as long as there's a balance there of like, hey, she's giving you your alone time and she's not feeling like you're gonna be butthurt or mad if she occasionally goes and hangs out without you, then you should be pretty good, all right? Also, I wanted to make sure I address this as well. You ask, are you being unreasonable, paranoid? I'd say there's a little bit of paranoia there, but there's also a very negative stigma of introverts about us being in our shell and about us not ever getting out. And so part of you could fear that she's going to go out there at times when you're not there and people are going to ask her about you. And when she's like, oh, he couldn't make it, then there's going to be a stigma from them like, oh, he didn't come out again. Oh, he's probably sneaking behind your back. Or he's probably at home with another woman, or he doesn't really like you as much, and yada, yada, yada. And there can be that talk that she gets. But the important thing is how she views you and how you guys talk about what this means for your relationships. That way, when she goes out, she can say, oh, he's just home by himself tonight, just chilling. I know he needed his alone time, so I'm just kind of giving it to him. And you guys will both know that this is not a big deal, okay? So have those kind of conversations. But yeah, you're being a little bit paranoid because, like I said, in my experience as an introvert dating extroverted women, they don't use the ones that have a good head on their shoulders and are self-confident and have a life outside of me typically do not have a problem with me wanting to have my life to myself solo at times without them being around. Continuing, he says, I honestly feel like she is great for me, amazing even. It doesn't bother me at all that she's extroverted. I would never stop her from going anywhere or hanging out with someone. I just may not or likely won't be there. I know I don't get to make decisions for her, but I'm afraid she'll wake up one day and think to herself, I wasn't really a good match for her, which I can live with if it happened now. Don't get me wrong, I'd still be in the dumps. But if I had children with her and she left, it would really break me. Anyway, if you've gone through any of this, please, I'd love the insight. So recognize this, that there's always going to be a chance in any relationship that you get left. Whether they get tired of you, whether they meet somebody else, whether they get a job across the country and realize they want to take that job and that means that they can't live near you anymore, so it doesn't work out. The point is that there's always risk in relationships, whether it's going absolutely great and then it just stops for whatever reason, or whether there's a communication breakdown and you guys aren't able to figure out how that's going to function, or if suddenly she decides one day, you know what, he's inside all the time and I kind of want to date somebody that is going out as much as I do. Any number of things could happen that result in a breakup. So that's always on the table, okay? But you can't let that stop you from pursuing a relationship. And also, you can't then bring in your own negative self-talk about you being an introvert and then have that be the thing that makes you think, well, she's going to eventually want to leave me. So you know what? I'm going to do things to make sure that I leave first or whatever. Like, don't be that guy, okay? You're in a 4-year relationship that's going really well where she seems like she's a very positive person and she's looking at you being an introvert as a positive thing, okay? But here's the thing that sometimes we do as humans is that we see a potential flaw and then in hopes of trying to avoid that flaw from happening, we constantly bring it up with the other person thinking, if I mention this enough times and they keep saying to me that it's not a problem, that I'll eventually have the, what's the word I'm looking for? I'll eventually feel secure that this person's not going to leave me. And you can ask this person till the cows come home. Hey, so are you cool with me being an introvert? Hey, so are you cool if I stay home? Hey, so just want to make sure that you know I'm an introvert. And so this is what this means. Are you told that? If you have enough of those conversations, it can become annoying. And then you can fulfill a self-prophecy that this person's going to leave you because they're going to be thinking, this guy is so bothered by himself being an introvert. And I say I have no problem with it, but they keep saying that it should be a problem. Maybe it should be a problem, or I'm just tired of hearing about how this guy thinks I'm going to leave him for being an introvert. So you know what? I'm tired of this conversation, and now I'm going to leave. And so you can't make the mistake of talking the thing you don't want into existence, okay? So many people do this thing whereby they have on a list of things that they don't want for a person, and they don't think about the things that they actually do want. And so they're constantly in their head thinking about, well, this other person probably doesn't want this thing, so I'm going to keep bringing it up to make sure that it's a thing that they're cool with dealing with, but they're just dealing with it, so they don't really want to deal with it. Dude, she loves you, and she's there for you. You live at home with your mom, and she comes over to your mom's house, to your room, to clean your place, and does it happily without asking you for it. I think you should say that you're pretty good right now, okay? But in the meantime, you gotta start talking more positively about yourself because you as the guy in the relationship, you're gonna be eventually seen as the one that's gonna be like the head of the household and the one that's like leading you guys towards a common goal and a common relationship path that's gonna work for you as well as any potential future children you guys have, okay? If you don't get this handled now, then this negative self-talk is only going to get worse, and it's going to start reflecting upon how you're treating her and how you're talking about yourself to her that could eventually make her see you in a negative light, all right? So whatever you got to do to figure that out, hey, go to my website, sign up for some of my programs, read some of my eBooks, and start looking at like how to modify your mindset to a more positive one because you do have value and you are worthy of this person's love. She clearly sees it. I clearly see it. You seem to be the only one right now that's not seeing that you being an introvert is actually a great thing. And also, this part in here, you said you recognize that it's easier to be the introvert dating the extrovert? You don't know that. You don't know for her if she's like, man, let me tell you, man, I've dated these other extroverted guys and they go out as much as I do, but they're always, they're going out so much that they don't ever let me get a chance to have time to myself, and they're clingy and this and that. And I get to come across you and we get to have a great time together, but I can go hang out with my other friends. You don't get jealous. The few days that I need my alone time, I know I can ask for it and that you're not going to be bothered by it. And you just bring such a quiet, calm peacefulness to my life. Like, you don't know if her dating you as the introvert you are makes her dating life easier, okay? So you gotta stop projecting the stuff that you're feeling and really look at objectively what's going on in your relationship and see how great it is so you won't mess up a good thing. So hopefully, guy, this answers your question. If you have a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com or leave a comment below my YouTube videos. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel to show your support. That's youtube.com/HarryWilmington. If you want to show your support monetarily, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com, click on the tip jar tab, and leave a monetary thank you. That's all I got for today's show. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.